Have you seen what they're doing with Sora in the AI video stuff? It's insane. You couldn't tell it apart from reality. They could create this conversation and you and I could watch it and be like, is that real or is that fake? And so the disruption is real. It's real in the industry. It's unlike anything you've ever seen. And what's happening in that space is yet to be known, but it's very, very real. Very real.
Jeremy, what's up, man? Thanks for being on the podcast today.
Happy to be here. Big fan. Been following you guys for a while, and it's cool to see everything you've done.
I appreciate it, man. It's been a wild ride to see. You know, I remember because you work with some mutual friends like Andy Stumpf. I think you do some work with Shawn Ryan with the Target Intelligence. So it's pretty interesting to see how all these people are running around in the same circles, but eventually it's going to connect. It just doesn't happen as quickly maybe as you like it to, but it does happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. Man. You know, we've been fortunate to work with some really cool people, some really cool brands, and to your point, it's a tight group of folks, and each person pushes each other, and it's been a journey. Yeah. Well, let's start with why you started to do what you do with production and the types of films and documentaries that you make. They're pretty relevant. They're edgy, and I think they're tackling a lot of issues that don't seem to be addressed. It's kind of the elephant in the room that nobody's really talking about, but knows exists. Yeah, man. I mean, look, at Ironclad, we say we make high-stakes stories told from the voices of authority, right? And so I think in today's world, there's a lot of content. I mean, it's all about content. It's the number one addiction, quite frankly. And so we say if we're going to make content, we want to make it, matter. And so we tell those high-stakes stories. We try to make them, like I said, from voices of authority and not sensationalized. And that's rare today, and we really want to come from an angle that is not necessarily biased when we tell these things. And we want to add a little entertainment to it. My background's action sports, filmmaking, and being in Virginia Beach. This is where a lot of the teams are. And we started working with some guys. When they would get out, they would do different projects. They'd work with other brands. And we started working with brands. Then we started working with the firearms industry. Then we started working with the Navy SEAL Foundation. It's just been this really cool progression. And so we've been able to meet so many cool players. When we bring something to market that's an original, we want it to go big.
Well, and I appreciate that too, because everything's about, it seems like micro content anymore. I was sitting on the couch with my son this morning and he was scrolling through YouTube and he was watching shorts and he's scrolling through it so fast. I'm like, how do you know you don't want to watch that video? And he's like, what about that one? What about that one? He's like, I don't know. I didn't like it. I don't know. Bro, you literally had it on for half a second.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. We talk about our kids being so engaged in this really micro form content and what it's doing to our attention. And I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking with my girlfriend about it, and I said to her, it's really hard for me to watch them. I don't want to watch movies anymore.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, it's because your attention span is just shot. And I'm like, yeah, that's actually probably true. So have you found that to be a challenge with the length and the depth that you go into the stories that you share?
Yeah, I think yes and no. I think, what we're finding is like, we're not necessarily data-driven guys, but we have to look at the data of our content, right? And so when you're looking at it, the audience for shorts versus the audience for YouTube versus the audience for Instagram versus the audience for audio, generally they're all different audiences. And so a long-form audience is probably a different audience, but we've all been conditioned at this point for faster-paced things, right? I mean, I see even sitting in a meeting, like, it needs to be fast. Our brains are operating faster. So, yes, I think strategically you want to add some elements to it on how you tell those stories, but we're not necessarily playing the algorithm. But I will say one of the reasons why you might not be as interested in movies is because what we're finding is we're calling you and me and probably any of your listeners in your demographic the forgotten audience, right? It's the male. We call them the Doer Class, right? It's the Doer Class. It's the male, the blue collar, the first responders, the veterans, the entrepreneurs, the creatives. That audience is not necessarily getting as much content anymore. That's why you see spikes with Yellowstones or any Taylor Sheridan series or anything like that. It's because it's high stakes stories, and they're entertaining. They're not biased. They're just raw. And so what a studio might call it muscular popcorn, right? There's just less of it now, and that it's less appealing. Some of the content that you're seeing out there.
Well, I think to your point, it's also less appealing to guys like us because everything is. It seems like more and more there's these just really deranged storylines and these agendas and hidden motives that are pushed into the storylines, and that's why you see a movie like the second Top Gun. Man, what an incredible follow-up to the first one. Yeah. And it's few and far between, but the reason is because they told a good story without all of this social programming. Yeah. Brotherhood, overcoming hardship, a guy trying to figure out if he's still got it or not. Yeah. That's the kind of story that we want to hear. We don't want to be preached to about gender studies and queer theories and can men have babies and who loves each other, and we're not interested in that. So I think that's why what you're doing resonates so much. Yeah, and we just try to stay out just in general of any of the opinion stuff from either side and do things, like you said, that people are interested in. That's really what, people are into high stakes stories and people overcoming things and things that are happening. And man, we've told so many awesome stories for brands with people, and they resonate, man. And so, either side has agendas in media, and we just largely strategically stay out of it. Well, that's interesting because with Shawn Ryan, who a lot of guys that listen to this podcast are familiar with, and his new series with you guys, Target Intelligence, he's one that I think has gained a lot of credibility and authority with his audience because he seems to be pretty neutral and level-headed about just about any topic that I've seen him address. And I think people are craving that, where it is not a hidden agenda or some motive that they don't quite know what it is. He's very even keel and level-headed about it. Yeah, I think the one thing about Shawn is that he's authentic, man. He's just authentic, and he's going to say it like it is, and that's what resonates with us. It was what resonates with us about Andy or Vince or Kat or any of the other folks that we work with is just authenticity, and where they come from, their angles they come from, are not going to necessarily be driven by outside interest. It's going to be their true feelings, and and that's really a draw for us. Yeah. And you guys do stuff with Jack Carr as well, right? We used to, yeah. We're not working with him anymore. Right. He's got his own team, man, and he's blowing up. Oh, I know. He's such an incredible human being. I remember the first time I sat down with him. It was actually before Terminal List came out, and he invited me to his place, and we had a great conversation. Did a great podcast. He's like, "Hey, I have a gift for you." I'm like, I don't need a gift." He's like, "No." And he gave me some elk meat that his daughter had shot. And like just that kind of stuff where he's sharing food with me that obviously has value because it's his daughter's hunt and everything else. And that's the kind of guy he is. But yeah, you work with some incredible people. Yeah, man, we've been fortunate, dude. I mean, it's just, try to do what's right all the time. Just, and follow through with what we're doing and saying and try to be an asset. And we've been fortunate to just line up with awesome players. I mean, and look, the brands too that we work with are the same way. We stick with those guys because everybody kind of looks out for each other and helps build value. Yeah. What do you attribute that to? Because being able to work with the kind of individuals that you do and the brands that you do, because I know there's a lot of men who listen to this podcast that, you know, they have business ideas, they have ambitions, maybe they do want to start a podcast or a production company or, you know, fill in the blank. And they don't know how to get started. They don't know how to grow. They don't know how to level up their services and level up the connections they have. What would you suggest to a guy like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think one, you have to, you know, find the right people to surround yourself with. You have to dial in your own discipline and habits. You have to know your values. I think those things are going to be really important. I work with this guy. He's a mental performance coach named Brian Kane, and he develops this thing called an MVP, Mission Values Principles document, and he does quarterly goals and things like that. I think you have to set really hard goals for yourself, but ultimately you just have to start going, right? It's easy for us to analyze and get paralysis by analysis. You got to be willing to fail and fail fast.
What are some of the early failures that you guys had? Like, have you ever done? I'm asking.
I've got
something I already know the answer to.
A bunch of failures. Yeah, I mean, anything from the small, like stuff nowadays that would be not as much my problem to things that are now bigger problems. So, like when we first started, dude, it was like me pretty much doing every aspect of all things, and then we started building core team. But dude, when you're doing everything, you do a lot of screw ups, right? And so, like, dude, we've lost, dude. The biggest, I remember when we were first starting, it was me and Danny who started with me, and we were on a production, and it was our big opportunity to interview Steve Van Doren, the founder of Vans, you know, and at the time, action sports was like our niche, and dude. Everything's evolved since then. Now we have sound guys, G&E teams, all the things, big crews. But, dude, we were doing our own sound. We messed it up. The whole interview got shot. I had to personally call him and ask him if I could show back up. And, you know, when you're young 20s, this guy opens up his whole headquarters for you. That was a big deal. So things like that, all the way to you know, navigating hard conversations on contracts and everything else. It's just, we fail a lot. We have failed a lot. But the biggest thing is like, we always follow through. I just want to make it right. You know, we want to make it right. And so that's the thing. You got to recognize, no matter who you work with, everyone's going to make mistakes. It's a matter of how they handle those. And, you know, it's not worth the fight in many cases for us. We want to be an asset at all times.
Yeah. I like that. When you mess up, make it right. Just keep going. You know, that's one thing I see a lot of guys struggle with is one little setback completely derails them. And they think, you know, this is not for them and they aren't meant to do this work. And they make up all kinds of excuses. They even blame it on God. They'll say, you know, it must not be God's will. I'm like, no, his will is for you to do hard work, for you to overcome obstacles, and for you to put something good in the world. It not working doesn't necessarily mean it's not his will. It might be you're just doing it wrong, or you need to do it more.
Yeah, and I think that you know, I think we're our own worst. We sell ourselves really easily. We're very our minds and hearts deceive us, right? And so, like, what I pray for God's will is like, hey, open doors wide open, or slam them in my face, please. You know, I'd rather them just get slammed in my face, because otherwise I'm going through it, and it's probably going to be hard. It's probably going to be hard.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you're talking about this, because it's easy to look at the kind of people you've worked with and the kind of productions that you guys put together and think, oh, well, you know, these guys have the great connections and they have the great equipment and they have all the people they need in the right places. It's like, yeah, they do now, but I know what it takes. I know what it's like to be the sound guy, to be, I mean, I remember editing my own podcast, which I just hated, but it had to be done. And then I outsourced that to Chad, who does a phenomenal job for us now. And he has for years, but yeah, you just got to make it work.
Dude, you got to make it work. And there's always going to be that element of you. It might not be you editing, but it might be you doing something else that eventually will go and get scaled out. Right. But like,
yeah,
it's just that thing and finding the right team. But yeah, man, dude, there's been so many instances where we've had to do it. And look, like even on our gear or anything, any of this stuff we're doing, you know, it's always been, we always wanted to say like, how do we be the best in the world, right? It's always been the goal. But,
right.
Dude, I mean, when we first started, it was like the digital, like what's happened between the 15 years we've been around as far as evolution of equipment, evolution of content, evolution of social media. I mean, dude, we could have been wiped out so many times. You always have to evolve. And we built the business on a 7D camera. If you don't know, it was like the first DSLR camera you get at Best Buy. It's like Canon $1,500 camera. And this used set of lights that we bought. And we worked at a local hospital doing hospital videos. Meanwhile, what you would see on our website was any of the few big projects we had, right? And we were like, hey, we're striving for the biggest and the best, but we were willing to do what it takes to earn the payroll, the revenue, the buy the equipment, get reps in, fast thinking, be on set, be agile. We were learning all this with hospital videos. And but we weren't content being there as far as this is the way that we want to create our portfolio and our business. We were using that as to subsidize us to go to where we wanted to go. So if people knew behind any brand that you see or person or group, the things that really go into it, the things that go when no one's looking, you know, everybody's got something similar. They're getting after it. And for us, it was make some hospital videos, earn some money, buy a cool camera, use that camera to go do this project for free, and then do this and that and everything else. And so that's really how we did it.
It's like a musician working bars before they hit superstardom, right?
That's it, man.
You know, I remember I hired a coach pretty early on when I started doing this, and I was putting videos out there on YouTube and stuff, and it just wasn't resonating. I wasn't getting views, I wasn't getting subscribers, and I told the guy that I had hired for coaching, I said, man, this is just not working. Nobody's watching. He said, good. You don't want them to watch this. Get your reps in, figure it out. That way, when you start to hit and it starts to land, people are going to watch the good stuff, not what you're doing right now. And it's just a reframe that really helped me consider that even though you might feel like what you're doing is flopping, you're learning, you're developing, you're growing, you're finding your voice, you're developing and building your brand, you're figuring out what people resonate with, what you want to talk about. It's amazing. The process is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. And to your point, if you go back and watch any of the stuff that you were doing, and you're like, man, look at the evolution.
Yeah, for sure. I want to switch gears and talk a little bit about target intelligence, because this is the new series. I think it's an 8-part series that you have out with Shawn Ryan. It was interesting as I was going through and listening to some of the episodes and doing a little research for this conversation. It was interesting to hear Shawn Ryan talk about not even being able to believe his own eyes, and the idea that we're being fed information that's being cherry-picked in order to produce a desired and oftentimes nefarious result. But we just think what we see is what is, and it really isn't that way.
Yeah, man. And the crazy thing is the more you dive into it, you can see it's like it's not just governments, marketing. I mean, any of it is being applied, right? I mean, we try to cover a full gamut inside of this series, but when you really look at it, especially in today's world, I mean, everything, quite frankly, is using. I mean, even us, even someone who's starting their own business, looking at click-through rates and how long someone's looking or whatever. If you're selling whatever it is, if you're selling a product, you're using psychological operations to some degree. But imagine that compounded by world power, right? It's crazy.
I think it becomes a problem not only with the size and scope, but when it becomes deceptive. You know, for example, yes, sure, psychological operations. I look at what people are interested in. I follow other brands that are having success and talking about some of the same things. I'm trying to figure out what my audience wants to hear. But everybody knows that and expects that. It's not some hidden agenda that I have. Everybody knows I'm trying to tap into your psychology in order to share something that's going to be relevant. I think it's a problem when it's not known, it's deceptive, and it's at odds with your own best interests, which is what seems to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's pretty eye-opening when you hear it and you hear these firsthand and historical events that have happened over the years on this series. That was really exciting for us to really be able to bring a person in to these stories, really place them in. And it starts with historical psychological operations to today. And we cover everything from Hollywood to big tech. And it brings it to life. I mean, we also, Shawn is so solid in his delivery in this. I think for people who are listening to it, it's really immersive too. And I think that the immersion, the stories, and some of the eye-opening tactics that are being used is really what sets this apart, where it kind of leaves you like, man, what's going on?
Yeah. Were there any stories that either you talk about or even that didn't make the cut that particularly surprised you or was real revelatory for you?
I think for us, we are lucky because we get to see like a firsthand look with having so much stories and contents that are coming through our system every day with all the podcasts and videos we're doing. I think they weren't necessarily revelatory as much as it was, can we get this amount of quantity into 8 parts, right? And can we tell it in a concise manner where you can see this pattern? And I think that was the biggest thing as we put them together. Just seeing the patterns was more relative. It was more of that than and the evolution of that snowball effect than one particular story. It was kind of seeing, wow, this thing is, and the other thing is after you listen to it, or even as you put it together, the question is like, do these people some of them even know that they're being a tool inside of this? Not only a victim or a recipient of a psyop, but like that they are actually a part of the psyop. And that was pretty cool to see from a 30,000 foot view.
So you feel like there's a lot of players inside of some of these storylines that you've gone through that maybe were participating in it, but not out of deceptive practices. They just didn't even, useful idiots, as we often hear them called.
Useful idiots, or maybe following the dollar. I don't think that everybody who's a part necessarily knows they're a part. And I don't know if I don't know if we highlight a lot of different things in this. And some of them on the smaller side, I don't know if the coordination is the way to coordinate one of these. I don't think everyone can be connected. I think that they're a part of it for sure, but it's really interesting when it all plays out to be like, wow, there's layers to each one of it, and the top, it's those are the designers, but maybe 2 rungs down, they could be tools and not even know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting too, because there's so many different conspiracies out there, and oftentimes it's just a matter of when they're revealed that it's no longer a conspiracy theory. But it's hard to know, because sometimes people come across as just insane, and so you take a person telling a story who's not real credible in your eyes, and then the story's not credible just because of that, even though it might be accurate. But then you also run into this they thing, like, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that. Who is they? Well, I don't know. They are. Okay, well, I can't go off that information. You can't even fight or combat that if you don't know who the enemy is.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's unique, and I think hindsight's 20/20 in a lot of those cases, and that's ultimately what we try to get out with the series. It's like when you really look back and kind of play them out, you might not ever know during it, and it might just be something crazy, and sometimes it is, but sometimes and oftentimes it's not. And so, the other thing about this is like we really kind of wanted to add a level of entertainment value to it, where you're kind of on this thrill ride, right, and not really knowing what's going on. And so it's just a different experience for anyone who hasn't listened to it. It's not necessarily what you would expect it to be, right? In the format is different, right? It's not Shawn crushes it in this, but it's not what you would normally get from Shawn with a long form conversation. And so it's something really unique and different.
Yeah, I think that's what people want. They want to be entertained, they want to be educated, but I think that entertainment piece, I don't know that I would say it comes first, but if you can't get somebody to listen to it, then it doesn't matter how great the information is, or how accurate it is, or how well researched it is. Like if you hear a boring college professor talk about something, you're not interested. But if you hear somebody who's dynamic, like Jordan Peterson, who happens to be a college professor as well, he's dynamic. He understands the presentation component of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really what this is. It's like, we always say, like, what's the E to E ratio, education to entertainment ratio? And for this, we think that the ratio of entertainment is really high on this. It's not sensationalized, so the education's still real. But the way that we told it in the story, it like I said, it truly plays like a movie.
Yeah. How do you see media changing moving forward? I started podcasting in 2014, so I've been podcasting for a long time, and it's come such a long way. I remember randomly people would say, what do you do for work? And I'd say, well, I'm a podcaster. And they're like, oh, cool. What's your real job? Or they'd say, well, a podcast, what is that? I remember having to say, it's like radio on demand is what I would say. Yeah. And now everybody knows what a podcast is. When I tell them my podcast, they're like, oh, that's cool. Like, how do you make money doing that? But it's not a question of whether or not this is my full-time job. It's amazing to see how far technology advances and goes. What do you see as the future of consuming content? We'll say that.
I mean, consuming content 24 hours, quite frankly, when you're driving, while you're moving. I mean, there's very few times of a rested mind today, right? And so, in generationally it changes, right? And so babies have sound machines in their rooms to, the eldest generation has 24-hour news cycles on. And so everywhere in between it's happening. And so it's a constant fight for attention, right? And so because that attention drives value and ultimately advertising, they're trying to monetize on people's time. And so now they have AI real-time learning to see what are these people clicking on so that I can get their attention. And so the future of media is pretty wild, I feel like. But at the same time, it's also pretty cool. I think there's a lot of opportunity for really valuable stories. I think the cream will rise, right? But it's a different time. When you said when you started podcasting, it was something unheard of. Now it's something, if you're a brand or a personality, it's not a matter of if you have a podcast, it's when will you have one. Because it's almost like what Instagram used to be. It's like Instagram was just for the kids. Now you have to have one. Podcasting is a medium with its own audience. Audio audience is different than the video audience largely. And so you have to have one. And now you're seeing deals like with the Spotify and Netflix thing. You're seeing mass consolidations with these other big businesses. Legacy media is consolidating and trying to figure out how to get more creators in. So it's evolving rapidly, quite frankly. And so for us, I mean, dude, have you seen what they're doing with Sora and the AI video stuff?
No.
It's insane. You couldn't tell it apart from reality. They could create this conversation and you and I could watch it and be like, is that real or is that fake?
Right. Isn't that wild?
Well, think about this. Think about a company like us who if you're a big brand and you're an outdoor brand and it's outdoor season, let's say it's elk season and you want to sell a camo pattern, right? You can put guys like us with big cameras and big team out on the middle of a mountain. We got to fly them out. You got to do all these things. You got to get them out there for a few days. You got to do all this stuff. You got to spend all this money. Or you could make the content immediately and it looks real.
Right.
Which one are you going to do? And so the disruption is real. It's real in the industry. And I don't know if you saw the trailer that we did for the Psyop series, but we did it with the Doer brothers. The Doer brothers do AI content. Dude, it is so real and crazy. It's unlike anything you've ever seen. And what's happening in that space is yet to be known, right? But I will say, people say AI will put people out of business. I think it's the people who master it, quite frankly, Will. I think it's a force multiplier. It's a tool. But it's very, very real. Very real. And so I do think there will be some massive disruptions there. But I think at the same time, large media still they want your attention, right? And so YouTube wants your attention. Netflix wants your attention. And so they're going to invest in creators. And I think it creates a lot of opportunity for great content, because I think it will rise. But at the same time, I think it's going to be flooded. Very flooded.
I mean, I've seen that even just over the past 10 years. You know, when we started this, there was probably 2 or 3 movements specifically for men.
Yeah.
And it was us and I think Art of Manliness and maybe 1 or 2 others. And now there's 1 or 2 popping up every hour, it seems like, that are specific towards focusing on men and masculinity. And I think for the most part, it's good, because the good stuff, like you said, will always rise to the top. But also, it puts a lot of nonsense out there that I don't think is helpful for the men that we're trying to serve.
Yeah.
And now people are left trying to filter through some great information that's out there and some not so great information that's out there. But I do believe, as somebody who's trying to put stories together and experiences, that we have a responsibility to do it and to do it well and to continue to evolve and improve.
I agree. And I think adopting those tools, just like any craftsman or people, whether you're a warrior, whether you're a businessman, whether you're a creative, implementing those tools, I think, are important, just because it's going to make you lighter, faster, stronger, right? And so, I think there's a fine line. You can outsource all of it and it looks terrible, but at the same time, it's real and it's here. And there's ways to make it really good and make it serve you and ultimately your consumer, right? And for us, it's like, are we adding value to people's lives when they're consuming our content? And if we're just doing it just to extract value from them, it's not worth it for us. We don't want to do that. We might as well make hospital videos, right? And so we don't want to extract value from our consumer. We want to add value to our consumer with our content. And if that, everything else will fall into place.
I think that's a really good point, because I have often considered in my own mind whether or not I'm contributing to the problem or helping solve the problem.
Yeah.
And I land on solving the problem because I care about it. It's important to me. But I have at times caught myself thinking, oh man, this is just another thing that people need to listen to, or just another program they need to be involved in, or just another experience that they can go to. And it's like, man, I really want men to just spend time with their families and their work.
Yeah.
And so it's hard. It's hard. It's a little bit conflicting at times.
It is very hard because, and you have to pay the bills just like we do, just like any other brand or personality or creator. And so it's like, but I think the audience recognizes that, right? And they want value. I watched this thing on the Savannah Bananas. They pulled every advertiser off of their field because they said that it added no value to the consumer experience. They said people don't come to games to get marketed to. And so 90% of their revenue comes through, or more, it comes through ticket sales and merchandising sales, because they want to add value to their consumer. They want to add, they don't want the sponsor dollars. They want their consumer to love what they're doing. And so they've just changed their focus. I found that very interesting how they did that. It's a unique world. So there's YouTube AdSense, right? So it's like, for everyone listening, there's, when you're thinking about first off, always on content. If you're looking at it like a podcast, video series, anything is technically nowadays called always on content, which means it's on weekly, monthly, whatever it is, consistently. And that monetizes. It pays the creator or the brand by ad placement, or you're monetizing the audience. I kind of look at that. That's what Savannah Bananas did. I mean, they're really they're focusing on their audience, right, and adding value to them. And so that really, I was inspired by that, and we really just are trying to focus on that, and we'll get it right and we'll get it wrong along the way on how we try to figure it out. But the real thing is, are we listening to our end user? Are we adding value? And everything else will follow.
I remember years ago, I was at a gas station, and I think it was like Pride Awareness Month or something, and there was this advertisement on the pump for Pride Awareness. And I'm like, I don't like. Does my gas have to be gay now? Like, I don't really want to be marketed to. I just want to pump my gas. Like, I don't need a message. I don't need to be told what I should believe and what I shouldn't believe. I just need to pump gas. I didn't know that about the Savannah Bananas, but that makes total sense. My daughter loves them. She's got their flag on her wall, and the entertainment value is through the roof. It's like, it's amazing what they're doing. That's interesting. They pulled all their advertising though.
Yeah, and whether and then on the advertising side, like, it would be the same thing if on the pump it was something else that was a gun manufacturer commercial, right? Like
anything.
Knowing who you're marketing to. Like, for us, we're only going to want to bring in brands that align with our audience or add value to them, right? And so, like, we know our audience, what they're into. And our audience they're into like investment, they're into financial, they're into things like that. And so for us, that makes sense. If a financial services business wants to advertise to them, that adds value, right? It adds value to them. Mm-hmm. It lets them it educates them and things along those lines. And so we wouldn't drop something in that we think would just be a spray and pray kind of thing. And so I think that we all fall victim to that, and there's some test and learns with some of those things. But knowing your audience is pretty important when it comes to advertising and what you're bringing them, and where they stand and what they're interested in. And you want to be a good partner to the brands that you serve too. And so if you bring them something that you don't think your audience is going to activate on just for the dollar, I think that is selling out versus selling items, right? Selling is okay. Selling out, changing who you are, what you're doing. I think the audience won't like that.
Yeah, I think they can sniff through. When I started podcasting, I had a advertising agency that reached out. I'm like, oh, cool, that's a good way to make some money in addition to what I'm doing. And they'd give me the reads, and I was doing some business software, and then one for underwear, one for life insurance. I'm like, I don't give a shit about any of this stuff. Like, sure, wear whatever underwear you want. Use whatever business software you want. This is not something I'm interested in. And then we've been working with 3 sponsors now for years, 6, 7, 8 years. I work with Montana Knife Company, Sornex Exercise Equipment, and Origin. Yeah. Those are the 3 companies. And those are the companies that my audience, the guys listening to this podcast, they use anyways. Whether I talk about it or not, they're already using those products.
Yeah, it's exactly. A good alignment. And they're great brands, and it's a great alignment. Yeah, and so, and your audience trusts you, man. That's they trust you, and they also know you need to make money, right? And so, we want, when we do something, they're excited. Like, it adds value to everybody. Like, man, I can't believe they're dropping this thing now. Sweet, right? And so, we want them not to feel like, oh man, they got me again. We don't want that, right? And so I think that you've been able to build that trust with your audience. That's why they give you their time and their energy. And like I said, I think it's great. But the future of media is largely ad supported or audience supported, right? And so all of these big consolidations are that way. And so I think that people recognize that, and that's why subscription models are there and things along those lines. But now it's not just happening in the theater or, on cable. In fact, it's happening to those 2 places less than anywhere.
Less, absolutely. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, we just live in such an on-demand society. If you want, I had to buy a new camera, and I jumped on Amazon and I bought it, and it was here in 36 hours. Yeah. It got here.
It's a wild time,
this camera
man.
Right here, yeah. And then not only that, I'm looking at this new camera. I'm like, I don't know how to operate this thing. And I pull up ChatGPT. I'm like, hey, what does this do? How do I change the setting to 4K? Pumps it out right away, immediately for me. So this on-demand access is going to be so crucial, I think.
Yeah, it's
and
crucial.
Like
it's really
audience.
empowering to people, man. I think like you mentioned, like how do you get started? Like I think now there's pros and cons. You can convince yourself it's really easy or really hard, but I think there's a middle line there. It's like the fact is it's both, right? It's easy, meaning I can access technology. I can shoot with my phone better than when we first started. We could shoot with a $20,000 camera rig, right? And so
Absolutely.
It's easy because you can talk to chat. It's easy because you can do all these things to get it out. It's hard because there's a lot of other players doing it, and so and you have to add value. And so there's both. Both are very real right now. It's easy because you can access anyone right now, dude. If you had to, your life depended on it, you could pretty much get a hold of anyone in the world.
Absolutely.
It's wild.
Yeah. It's amazing who I can reach out to on Instagram and they'll answer me back.
Yeah.
Whoa. Like not an assistant, not their team. You know, sometimes that happens, of course. But for the most part, it seems to be like I can get on Instagram in their messages and that person will get back with me. And it is incredibly, incredibly powerful.
It's an exciting time, man. It's an exciting time for all that. But it's also, you know, there's real challenges that come with it.
Well, speaking of exciting times, what do you guys have? What projects do you have coming down the line? Like what are trends that you're looking at? What are stories that you're wanting to tell? I think a lot of the audience would want to be entertained and engaged and educated on some of these topics like we had talked about. Yeah,
absolutely. So, right now we're focusing on two sides of the house. You know, on the Ironclad studio side, which is more like brand work, we're looking at how can we make that more scalable for people that do want the always on content, right? And so always on is podcasts and regular series. And so we're basically launching a program where if you're a creator or you're a brand, you can come to us and we will be able to give you a 52-week run podcast or anything else under our umbrella, right? It's and we've already started that with a couple of brands, and you would know their podcast when you see them, and those are really awesome because it adds a ton of value. Because starting something up is very hard. You got to order the cameras, figure it out, do all the things, book the guests, cut it up, do all the that side of the house we do it turnkey. And so that's one thing. On the original side, man, we've got some great projects and evolutions of our current projects. So, whether it's Narcosis, Change Agents, or Psyop, or the vision for those are to go into some of those bigger markets. So it's not just the always on or the audio. You'll be seeing potentially it on a TV screen, right? And that's the evolved version, right? And so we've got some stuff with those shows where it might be a partnership with a big network where we can do what you would expect from a Discovery Channel or a Netflix. You might see one of those on those or all of those, right? And that's not necessarily the pod would stay how it is on a weekly basis, but then those would be like a 12-episode series or something along those lines. So anything we do, we want to develop it into film series, right? And so if we launch something, we're going to start it as a podcast or a web series, but we're going to evolve it into a film series as well. And so those layers of what we call a franchise is what you'll be seeing way more of, and we've got some really cool expansions in that world.
Yeah, that's exciting. I think that the theme of this is that there's some real challenges, but there's some exciting times, and I hope men hear this and they're encouraged and optimistic about it. Like just getting yourself in the game, whatever that is, whether it's hunting or being an educator or a producer of content like you're talking about here. The time's never been easier, and yet people continue to make excuses as to why they can't do it.
Your story's being told through the public's perception. So their perception is either nothing or what you have there, and that also there's a fine line. But there's this pizza guy. I'm looking at his stuff, and he's like, I want to buy from him. He's not local, but I've seen him making pizza every day on this little feed, or and people showing you how they do. There's this one guy called R&R Builders that does pole barns. Dude, who'd have thought that he built a media empire of him building his pole barns, right? And they're sick, and he's got millions of followers. Now he partners with brands he loves like Milwaukee and others. And so no matter what market you're in, content can be an asset to you and your end user, quite frankly. And so that's one thing. On life in general, be very aware that every brand and platform wants your attention. So they're going to sensationalize things to get your attention. So be careful on who you give it to. So there's two different sides of this, right? It's really encouraging because now you have this powerful tool. You can use it for anything that you're doing in life, any philanthropic thing, any business thing, anything you want to be building. But at the same time, on a daily basis, it's a 24-hour assault for your brain right now. And that's real.
How do you, so I guess this would be an interesting thought is like, how do you figure out if that person is credible, if they're reputable, if they're not sensationalizing things just to get your eyeballs? But then also to go back to target intelligence, Psyop, how do you decipher between what is real and what is not, what is being fed to you, what is accurate versus what is the entire story's made up? Like, how do you actually sift through that? Because it is becoming more and more difficult, especially with AI.
It is. And I think you have to know your source, right? Yeah. Reputation and authenticity matters. And so that's why something like Psyop is so important. It's coming from a trusted person like Shawn, a trusted brand like Ironclad. You can know that that we are going to give you authentic story, right? Versus if you're just getting something off the algorithm, I would probably look into it, because I mean it could be real. It very well could be, but it might not, dude. It could be a baseball player throwing 10 strikeouts and it didn't happen. I mean, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be some big government thing. I mean, it's crazy. But like that's why I think sources matter now. I think that personalities matter. I think your brand matters, right? Like they know if it's coming from you, you believe in it. Whether it's your advertisers or whether it is, they know if a blade comes from Montana Knife, it's going to be a great blade, right? They know that those things are there, and so I think that that doesn't mean that blind trust is important, but it does mean that like I think if you know your source, that's number one, right? I think that face value things today is very, very hard to decipher. I mean, I look at content all day at my office. The stuff is coming out of our editing. Like if you walked out into the studio area, like dudes are cutting all day. I could look at something now and really not know if it's real.
Right.
It's wild. So I don't have an answer besides source. Source, know your source, trust the brands, trust the people that you work with, and be careful on what goes into your brain.
I think that's I watched a video the other day. My son and I were scrolling on Instagram and checking out reels, and there was this elderly woman sitting on the porch, and her grandson ran around the corner in the front of the house to the porch. He's like, Grandma, go inside, run inside. And he grabs her by the hand, and they go inside, and this big grizzly bear comes around the corner and chases them into the house. And I'm like, I don't think that's real, but I didn't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
It looked real, but it was a little bit and I don't even know how to pinpoint it. But there was something about it where I'm like, I don't think that's real, but it is becoming increasingly scary. And the other thing I was telling my son about that's scary is that if, let's say, you and I have beef over something, man, I could create a video of you in a compromising situation or saying something that would completely put your brand and your reputation in complete disarray.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Politicians, I mean, it's going to be insane, and I don't think anybody will be able to believe anything, unfortunately.
It's the truth. It is. And that's why the source matters. And look, people will make mistakes. They will. But I think, if that's why we think today authenticity is so important. And that's why we partner with the people we partner with, right? Authenticity is number one for us right now. And I think that it's resonating with our audience. I think it resonates with your audience. And and trust, because if you trust someone, you recognize they're humans, right? Humans are flawed. And so, but you know that if they have the best intentions of the content, their consumer, I think that's and you know that they're trying to make awesome things, that they value your time. I think that's a big thing. Valuing people's time is huge.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you guys are doing it, man. I appreciate you taking time. And I mean, I haven't got entirely through the series, but what I've listened to so far with Target Intelligence is amazing.
Thank you.
I'm excited to dig more into it. I'm also excited to dig into future projects. And like we started this conversation out, we run around in the same circles, and it was bound to happen and connect at some point. But man, I'm excited about what you guys are doing. It actually inspires me too. I get inspiration from what you're doing. I don't want to disclose everything, but I've got some cool plans for 2026 that I think are going to make this a more immersive experience than somebody just watching a static video or hearing me ramble at them for an hour. I'm very excited about. So I might hit you up and share some things with you. You might have some insight for me.
I love it, man. I love that you're doing that. I think what you're doing is really important. And if we can ever be an asset to you in any way, even just telling you hard lessons we've learned, best practices, or if you need resources, happy to do it. I think it's great that you're thinking like that. I think it's only going to add more value to your audience, but it is hard. It's hard to do, and I think you'll crush it. And yeah, I appreciate the support. Thanks for talking about the project and talking about things. We're super appreciative of you and the support. We're also appreciative of Shawn for all his collab on this thing. This thing is so sick. He's such a dude. The team that he's built is so awesome. I mean, his whole everything he's doing is next level.
Oh, it really is. He's somebody who I think that's what it takes. I've studied. I was looking at it the other day. I think our conversation will be. I've done over 1,500 podcast episodes now, but I think 579 or 580 interviews that I've done of those 1,500 plus. And the one thing that I've seen as an overarching trend for every man that I talk to on this podcast who's successful in their own right is that they take things to the nth degree. They're not okay with just putting out average or mediocre or it's good enough. They always are pushing the bounds of what is possible and making whatever they do, whether it's widgets or content, as good as a human being can possibly make it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I feel the same. And Shawn's that way, dude. Like, it's the best in the world or nothing, and we expect that of ourselves, and we know our audience expects that, quite frankly. And we've been fortunate that the other guys that we have on our network is the same mindset. It's number one, and how do we make it number one in everyone's brains too? We want them to love it, and that doesn't mean we're chasing just what they're clicking either. I mean, they expect us, our consumers expect us to do what we believe is awesome, not necessarily that what we believe they will love. Right? We believe it's awesome, therefore they trust us and want to check it out.
Yeah, I love it. Well, tell the guys where to connect with you, where to learn more, where to pick up the series, and all that stuff.
Yeah, so you can go to psyopshow.com to get the series. So basically, psyopshow.com, you buy it just like you would check out anything on an e-com shop, and it goes right to your phone. So you can get it, and you can play it on Spotify, iTunes, anything. So check that out. That's the 8-part series. And then This is Ironclad on all social media, or thisisironclad.com. Check out Ironclad and any of the projects we're working on. Reach out if you need anything. If you want help on a podcast, reach out. If you want branded content, reach out. And then just check out the stuff, man. I think that people will enjoy those shows. Narcosis, Dispatches, Psyop, and Change Agents. What we're about to drop with Change Agents is really cool. I think people are really going to like that. It's going to be boots on the ground. We're traveling. Andy's doing walk and talks with people, doing some crazy stuff. And then we've got some new stuff for On the X, the Navy SEAL Foundation podcast. So all of our shows are really evolving this in 2026, and I think people are really going to enjoy them.
Awesome, man. We'll sync it all up. We'll let the guys know where to go. Jeremy, I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for joining me.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.